Hello, and welcome to Rock Your Block. In today's segment of First Home Alliance, I'm your host, Larry Laws. I'm here to share with you the amazing services that First Home Alliance provide in the community, answer questions you may have about housing, to make your dream of homeownership a success, and empower you with knowledge to enhance your financial fitness. On today's episode, we will discuss short sales. Our special guests will share their experience, their expertise in the housing industry as a real estate professional, and their personal endeavors dealing with the loss of their home. This special guest has a Master's of Library Science from Florida State University, and she is licensed to practice real estate in the Commonwealth of Virginia. She worked as a librarian for over 18 years, and now she's a full-time real estate agent with Exit Realty Associates in Lorton, Virginia. She is also a qualified VHDA homeownership program trainer. Please welcome to our show, Danielle Williams.
Oh, thank you, Larry, for having me.
Thank you, Danielle, for coming on to our show and here to share your expertise as a realtor and also your endeavor that you have experienced the loss of your home.
Right.
Yes. First, I was reading through your resume and I see that you was a librarian. How did that come about?
Well, I actually got my master's degree straight out of undergrad. I was a journalism major in magazine production, but out of all the story writing, I really liked the research better. And I found out that you could get a master's degree and do it for a living, you know, not only doing research, but also helping others. And so I went straight in and got my master's. And like you said, yeah, it's been 18 years. Most of it's in the school system.
Okay.
Part of it also just working in the public library system. And like you said, I've been a realtor since 2008.
Yes.
So for a good part of that, I was still working full-time as a librarian and doing my real estate work too. But just actually this past school year, I let go of the library piece and it's just real estate full-time.
Yes, and I met you a number of years ago, and I think you was doing both.
Right.
Yes. How did you get involved in real estate? How did that you was inspired to do real estate?
Well, actually, it's not like most people. Mine was after a divorce when I ended up with 4 children and trying to figure out how in the world I was going to send my son to college in 5 years. And then get 3 other kids, and then recover, you know, everything that I lost, how in the world. And so everything that I read about finances and all this, it looked like real estate was the best way to do it. So I got my real estate license, and I did it at first for me, just to be able to. I said, okay, well, I can buy a house and invest, and when I sell this house, I can use that for the first child's college, like that. But then after other people heard that I had my real estate license, I started helping friends and family members and then teachers in my school, and it kind of rolled up like that.
Yes, and so during that time, you know, up until I guess June of this year, you was doing a librarian, real estate, and you're a single parent.
I am.
Single parent with 4 children. Yeah. What was your typical day like?
No day is typical for me. I don't think it's been in the last 18 years. But when I still had the full-time position and the children, I'd be up at 5:30 in the morning.
Yes. Make
sure the kids are ready. Then I have to get myself to school by 7:20, 7:30. I worked 7:30 to 3:30, that was my day, and I handled my real estate clients on my lunch break. So any calls that I had to make, I did those around 12. When I got off work, made sure the kids were okay, homework, and if I had buyers or any other real estate clients, I did that work between 3:30 and 7:30 or 8. The nice thing about the school system was I didn't work nights, I didn't work weekends. I had the breaks off, and I had summers off.
Yes.
So I was able to handle a lot of my clients during those breaks. And again, between that, getting the kids to their sports events and, you know, being able to go on field trips and stuff like that, I'll just say that I have a really neat planner.
Okay.
How about that?
Yes, that's great.
And everything is planned out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you're doing the real estate full time.
Yes.
Very great. And so what are some of the different real estate areas that you work in?
Well, I sell and I list. So if I'm selling, I'm working as a buyer's agent. If I'm listing, I'm helping someone list their home. I don't necessarily have a specialty. What I have, I think, is a soft place in my heart for first-time buyers.
Okay.
And that's always been just maybe because I've been in education for so long, and I've come across so many other clients of mine who have gotten into trouble after buying a first home that I really feel like it's important for first-time buyers to have really good representation and counseling, and good advice, and get them into a home and do my best to make sure they stay there so that they don't make the mistakes that I made and other people made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we invited you out to one of the events that we was having was for homeowners, and you actually did an excellent job in giving a presentation for short sales.
Yeah.
And I sort of consider you an expert in the short sale area.
Well, I do too.
Yes.
I would not necessarily, in training. It's not in classes. It's in experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we want to explain to our audience a little bit about short sale. Okay. So, in short, what is a short sale?
So, a short sale is basically, well, the short definition is when a homeowner owes more on the home than what the home is currently worth. So if you get into a little bit more, if you end up having to sell your home, you have to add up not only what the home is worth, but the commissions in order to sell it, plus any closing costs. So if all of that adds up and, you end up having to sell the home short because, another way to say that. So if you owe on the loan $500,000, but because the market dropped or for whatever reason, your home was only worth $400,000.
Correct.
Right. What you'd have to do is ask the bank to sell short, so to accept the lower amount for the home.
Okay. And when do the short sale actually take place?
A short sale occurs just at the baseline when the homeowner and the bank agrees to sell the house for whatever price it is they agree on. So once the two parties agree, then that's considered as a short sale, right? I mean, the agreement is done and it's short sold that way.
Okay. Yeah. And if we had to do a step-by-step through a process, what is the process of that short sale process?
Well, and it kind of depends. A lot of this, just to say first thing, is lender dependent. So if you end up having to go into a short sale, we need to see who your lender is. But the old-fashioned, plain vanilla way is, first of all, you have to decide to sell your house, right? Okay. And so the house gets put on the market. Once we get an offer, then that offer is put together with a package that has like your hardship, all different letters and all that kind of thing. It's a short sale package. You put all of that together with the offer and you send that to the bank. Okay? And so the bank reviews it. That's the next step. Along with the review, what the bank does is they do BPOs, broker price opinions, and I performed BPOs for 6 years. And so I'm intimately familiar with the process of how they price. And so what the bank will do, like let's say you decided to sell your house for $300,000, and the bank goes out and does BPOs, and that just means that they send real estate agents out, usually 3, to assess the price, to figure out how much they should really sell it for. You sold it, got an offer for $300,000, but the bank does BPOs, and it came up and it said, this house is worth $400,000. We're not going to accept that $300,000. So they'll kick it back, and you'll have to put it back on the market for a higher price, right? If everything works out well, your realtor who helped you with the short sale, who helped you list it in the first place, has priced it well. You got a good offer. The bank does the BPOs. Everything is in alignment. Then they approve it. We're good to go, and then we go to closing, right? Okay. So that's the natural progression. But as time has gone on, some banks have gotten better at the short sales, and so you don't have to do that whole guessing game process anymore. Like they'll come out and work with you in the beginning to get a price to negotiate, because that's the big piece that you have to work with. And so if that part is front loaded and it's done up front, which I know Wells Fargo, there are some other banks that do it, then that makes the rest of the process easy, right? And then you can close 30 to 45 days. Those are with pre-approved short sales.
Okay.
The other way that I talked about, those are the ones that can go on 30 days, 6 months, 8 months, a year. It really just depends.
Yes, and you mentioned organization there. There are some programs that are set up out there to assist homeowners that are considering short sale. What are the name of some of the programs that are there?
Well, I think the one that most people would know is Making Home Affordable, right? And then there are also, and again, all of these are lender dependent. If you decide to short sell your house, we have to look at the lender first and see what it is that they provide. But it's Making Home Affordable. There's a homeowners assistance program that's a DOD program. There's FHA has a pre-foreclosure program, a VA. So again, there are all these different programs out there, but where you start is your lender, and we see what the lender offers first, and then we go from there.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned something about some hardships. What are some of the hardships that you have seen that could be a list of hardships that can be considered that would encourage a person to go towards a short sale?
Short sale, or even that's what caused the whole mess in the first place, right? There's job loss is one, medical bills, it could be the death of a spouse, it could be divorce, maybe you started a business and the business failed. Those are some of the main ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're about to take a break, and after the break, we're going to get into your situation so that you can share that with our audience.
Okay.
We're going to take a short break, but before we go, I would like to remind you that First Home Alliance is a HUD-approved housing counseling agency serving the National Capital Area. If you are a first-time home buyer, a homeowner struggling to make mortgage payments, or someone just seeking financial literacy education, I encourage you to check out the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development website for a HUD-approved agency in your area. We'll be right back after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Rock Your Block in today's segment of First Home Alliance with our special guest, Danielle Williams. Danielle, before the break, we were talking about, you was giving us a list of some of those hardships.
Right.
Well, now I would like for you to share with us about your situation. Tell us what happened.
Well, and when you said I'm a short sale expert, right, and that's kind of life. So back in, I think it was 2001, I bought my first house, my husband and kids and all of that. And not too long in, just like a lot of first-time buyers, you get something in the mail, money gets a little bit tight. Oh, I have equity in the house. I can take out a second mortgage. Oh, yeah, I can get these repairs done. So that's what we ended up doing. So all of a sudden we had a second mortgage. I started a business. My business loan ended up being tied to my house also.
Okay.
And then my husband lost his job. He'd been working for a small company, and he was really the only employee. He started out with this guy, helped him start the company. Then he grew. My husband was the only one with benefits, right? And so he was the most expensive employee, and the guy let him go. Bought a Mercedes the next day. But so all of a sudden, we were, at a really big deficit. And I was working, like you said, as a librarian at the time. So we went from 2 incomes to 1. Mm-hmm. And he was unemployed for almost a year. And that's really what kind of started the ball rolling, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess with that, it became, I want to say, intimate, that you would probably default.
Right. And I did everything that I could. So when I'm working with clients who are at the point where they have to short sale, I know that there were months and years in between there where they were trying to save their house or
Yes.
catch up on the mortgage. And it goes from being, 2 months late to 3 months, and then you can't pay just 1 month. You have to pay that full 3 months. And then you can't come up with the 3 months, and you're on the phone with the bank every day. And it got to the point where we were almost 6 months behind. And then, finally they rolled everything back onto, the loan, and we had a modification. But then I had another late payment just by 1 day. Mm-hmm. And then we go through it all again. So, and you have to imagine all those stresses caused a really, that's just very difficult in a marriage, period. Not that marriage is easy anyway.
Correct.
But that compounded a lot of problems. So it made life stressful. My hair was falling out. I was getting sick, just all kinds of things. Not showing it, though, at work or the family or anybody else. But yeah, it was a really big struggle.
Yes. And with that, what would you share with an individual or family that's going through that in reference to making that decision, whether to short sell, foreclose, let it go? What advice would you give to someone that's experiencing that?
Well, I would say, first of all, be ready. And just at some point in time, you have to sit down and come to the realization that it's time. I know you get to the point where you feel like you're giving up on your home, or what are my parents going to think, or what's the family going to think, or the neighbors, or that kind of thing. But I had to do some long and hard thinking. And at the time, even though we ended up getting modified, just financially, everything was out of control, and there was no way to handle it. So, I decided I had to just stop and start over again. And that's what I would tell somebody else. You have to think long and hard. This is a house, right? You can sell it and you can start over again. And, and that's what I did. So, but if there's a choice between foreclosing, and short selling, yes, you short sale it. Because if you foreclose, then it takes much longer. I forget the amount of time. I don't know if it's 7 years, and I've heard that some laws are changing and it's maybe going to take even longer. But if you foreclose, if you let the bank take the house, it is worse off on you. If you are proactive and you take action and you decide not to be kind of a victim and be passive and you take control, it's either going to be you're going to take control or the bank is,
Yes.
right? So if you take control and you short sale, if that's what you have to do, within 3 years, right? You can take time, you can get your financial house back in order, and you can buy another house.
Yes, you can bounce back. Now, with losing that home, living in that home, and you have to come to the realization that it was time to let it go. Was it an effect on your on the children, moving from one house to another? You're a homeowner one day, and then the next you're not.
I was a homeowner one day, and then the next day I was sleeping on my mother's floor with 4 children in a 2-bedroom condo with my mother, my sister, and a big dog. And we did that for a year and a half. But, where there's at some point in time, because the librarian, I'm a big nerd, of course, so I'm always reading and listening to things. But when all this was going through, I think it was Turn Your Debt into Wealth. There was a audio tape that talked about reversing your financial situation. And he shared his story. And one thing he said that hit hard with me, he said, sometimes you have to downsize. Sometimes you have to take extreme measures to get things back on track. And that's what I ended up doing. I mean, in the process, there was a divorce, right? It wasn't easy on the kids. But I think one thing, they weren't affected as much because I stayed calm. Like I wasn't all distressed, and not to them anyway,
Yes.
and we were around family and they were loved very well. So they actually, it seems like, had more fun in the condo because everybody was all together.
Close quarters.
Yeah, than in the big house. But so I just did my best when we had to make that transition. I couldn't keep the housing the same, but everything else in their life, their friends, like their sports events, school, I kept all of that the same. So it minimized the transition, everywhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during this time period, did it have any effect on your job while you was going through the transition?
Well, the house that we ended up selling it. Actually, it went to an investor. We didn't get to the point where we had to, and there was a little bit of equity, so we did get. Sometimes that happens. You think you have to short sale, and there's a little bit of equity in it. The house that we sold was in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm from Alexandria, and so I moved back to this area. And I just forgot, I went off track. I started talking about something else. But when
Affecting a job.
right, and so when I left Chesapeake, I had to leave that job.
Okay.
Okay, so when I came back to Alexandria, remember I had 4 kids in tow, but one was only 4 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to stay home with her for about 6 months, and then once she got a little bit older, I just got another job, with Fairfax County, and started all over.
Okay.
Yep.
And was there anything that you want? I know it's some things that you mentioned, and some things that people that are facing short sales or foreclosure. But what are some of the things that are not spoken?
Well, I think the big thing with realtors, when they come in and they talk to clients who are in that situation, if they haven't faced it themselves, it's just like a business decision. It's kind of like a transaction, but they'll explain the transaction, and it's like I said, from A, you do this, B, C, D, and this is all you have to do. But what they don't necessarily understand is the things that I talked about in the beginning that the clients, homeowners are going through. It's the shame, it's the guilt, it's the denial. And it is a house, but there's loss, and so there's a grieving process.
Yes.
Right? And so those are the things, again, I think, and another thing that goes through a homeowner's minds is whether or not they're doing something ethical. It's like I'm doing something wrong, and I don't want anybody to know. When the market fell down and we had all those foreclosures, I don't know if you remember, people wouldn't even they didn't even want it in the MLS because they didn't want their neighbors to know that they were short selling because they thought they were doing something wrong. But the thing is, and I explain to my clients, if it's an agreement between you and the bank, that's an agreement. There's no ethical breach.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that story and actually being able to bounce back. And how long was it from? I understand that it was 1.5 years, and then you was able to purchase again.
Right.
And so, how was that becoming a homeowner again?
That was one of the best things. Oh my goodness, I could breathe again. It was, that was in 2006. In 2008, again, because at the same time I'm in the condo, I'm saving my credit report, I'm saving up money, I'm paying off old debts, I'm getting myself in position to be able to buy again. So as I'm reading, I get my real estate license. I sold my first house to myself, right?
Super.
It was a foreclosure that we renovated, and the value went up $80,000 in 3 years. That was my son's college, right?
Super. Yes.
So so it was about 1.5 years.
Okay.
But it wasn't easy. you know. But the thing that when you talk about advice to people who have to short sale is that if you start the process with a plan in mind, then
Yes.
it's easier.
Yes. And Daniela, just in case our audience would like to find out more information about the services you provide, where would you, how would they get information on you?
They can go to my website. It's www.dwsellshomes.com. So DW for Danielle Williams. And also my number is 703-298-4821. And they can call me anytime.
Okay. We're nearing the conclusion of our show. But before we close, Danielle, I want to say thank you for coming on and sharing that, and look forward to seeing you out at our workshop again.
Yes.
But thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me.
All right. Our guest today shared her story about losing her home and how she was able to bounce back after a great loss. You too can recover and get back on track to homeownership and financial stability. If you have a question about short sales or a question about real estate, contact Danielle and visit her website for additional information about her services. Now it is time for us to check our inbox. This is where we share a recent question sent to us from our viewing audience in reference to housing and financial education. Today's question comes from Woodbridge, Virginia. Where can I find information on how to purchase a HUD home? Well, before you start house shopping, I would encourage you to attend a first-time home buyer workshop by a HUD-approved nonprofit agency. Then get a referral for a FHA lender or find an approved FHA lender from the HUD website. Once you are pre-qualified for a mortgage loan and it has been identified or determined how much house you can afford, you can view a list of these homes by visiting the HUD Home Store website for a listing by state. You must have a HUD registered real estate agent to enter a home and place a bid. To find a registered agent, ask for a referral or visit the HUD Home Store website, click on Find a Broker to assist you with the real estate bid and purchase transaction. In closing, if you have questions concerning financial education or homeownership, email our inbox at help@firsthomealliance.org to get the answers to your questions. And tune in to our next show to see if your question is selected to be shared with our audience. If you want to find out more about the services that First Home Alliance provides, visit our website. Thank you for watching Rock Your Block in today's segment of First Home Alliance. I am Larry Laws, reminding you that we're here to empower you with the knowledge to help you successfully live the dream of homeownership and financial success.